What we do is not really a choice. Yes, in the moment we can choose to do something different, but we don't. And we don't over and over and over. Why is that? Why do we make the same kinds of choices? Why do we choose to do something that is going to result in us not being happy when we want to be happy? The reason is simply because we're conditioned to experience whatever we experienced in childhood, whatever we grew up with, whatever we internalized, and we internalize things in a very deep way when we're children. So, whatever we internalized, that becomes our default way of being, feeling, thinking, acting. Uh, there's very little free will uh, by the time we're past early childhood. We don't do things freely. We do things that we're conditioned to do. Uh, some of the things that we do are the result of defense mechanisms that we employed in childhood that we didn't know we were employing, and we don't know that we're employing them now, but we are. And that's why we do, the things that we do. So, what's the solution? The solution is to become conscious of the big picture, of the reality that I experience is a very fractured part of reality. Uh, and it's by no means the big picture. If I'm conscious, if I'm present, if I'm aware of myself in a deep way, if I practice consciousness and being aware, that big picture will unfold automatically. But we don't believe this, or we don't have the patience to persevere through it. But that's what's required. And we learn things along the way that help point us in the right direction. But if I don't make an effort to have a different awareness, to direct my awareness where it's not used to being directed, if I can't develop that, nothing will stick. All of the best coping mechanisms in the world won't stick if I don't see the big picture. If I don't see the big picture, I'm pulled back down into my default way of functioning without any awareness that it's happening. The way that happens is completely unconscious, and I will always end up going back to what I'm conditioned with if I don't have the consciousness, the fortitude in my consciousness to direct it somewhere different, to direct it on myself so I can see myself in that limited reality, and I can experience how limited that reality is, and I can expand my awareness and expand my view of reality. I like Joe Dispenza's terminology that our personal reality is our personality, or vice versa. We don't realize that our reality is our personal reality. We think that it's the same reality everybody else experiences. It's not. And in order for us to be a different person, to feel differently, to act differently, to think differently, which is necessary if I want to make any change at all. In order for me to do that, I have to be present. I have to see when I'm making the wrong decision, when I'm aligning myself with the wrong thing, when I'm attaching myself to something that's going to move me away from where I want to go. Normally, we just keep doing the same things over and over that replicate what we feel, what we do, what we experience, and who we are. And until we do something different, we will always be in that same state. The problem is doing something different doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel natural. It feels like this isn't me. I'm faking it. And before we know it, we're feeling really good. We're accomplishing things. And we're still feeling like this isn't really me. It's great, feels really good, but it's not really me, and it's not going to last, and I don't deserve it, and I'm going to fuck it up anyway, and so I might as well mess it up now. That's what self-sabotage is. It's bringing myself back down to my old way of functioning. We're pulled to do that like a magnet. Can you overcome that? Can you direct your awareness and see what you don't want to see? That's what it takes. It all feels easier when the shame and guilt start to lift. And that's an important part of being present and being conscious also, is seeing the reality that I'm not the broken person that I've come to experience myself as. Yes, I've acted like that person. Yes, I've thought like that person and felt like that person. But it's a conditioned way of being. It's one of millions of ways that I could be. And I can't get away from that same messed up way of being, whatever it is, however trivial or severe it is. I continue to get pulled back like a rubber band. The further away I get, the stronger the pull to come back to my old reality becomes. Unless I just let go. Unless I just let go of the expectation that I'm going to feel a certain way. Feeling good feels good until it doesn't. Until it turns into tension between this new feeling and the old familiar feeling. Can you see the states, the different states of reality between my old feeling of shame and guilt and feeling free, knowing I don't have to care about what other people think about me, because I know that's not me? Can I be in that state where I feel free enough to act physically? I don't feel chained down by my low self-esteem. It's a bigger reality. And with experiencing a bigger reality, which is necessary, we experience pain and pleasure in different levels of intensity. We can't buy into that. We can't buy into the avoidance of pain and the attraction to pleasure. That is not indicative of the objective reality. It's indicative of what feels good and what feels good in the moment. But if I'm asleep and I'm going through life avoiding pain and seeking pleasure, there's nothing there. There's nothing grounding me. There's no motivation that will take me in one direction that I want to go in. I'll be taken in many directions depending on what's going on in my environment. That's not what I'm seeking. What I'm seeking is solidity, consistency, being awake, not being asleep in the race for pleasure. So it starts with being present to yourself, seeing when you're selling yourself short and making an agreement not to sell yourself short. Being conscious of the reality that you were wounded badly and you still feel the same way. You don't know that you feel the same way, but with consciousness, you will begin to know that you're living in the same reality that you lived in childhood, and that there's a different reality where it doesn't matter what people think, where you're capable of functioning at a level that works for you, where you're creative and you can express yourself either verbally or non-verbally and creatively. You can be free of your past, but you can't shut the door. It's by seeing all of it that it begins to make sense to let it go. It's hard to let go of my only reality. But if I know it's not my only reality, it's not as hard. Can you ask yourself, where am I and what am I doing at any given moment? And maintain the awareness on yourself until it's taken from you. And after you practice it, you'll see what takes it from you, because you were present before it was taken away. And you'll be able to taste the difference between being present and being asleep. Develop that taste between those two states.